Hey friends, this is Sketch Dirt and I'm Marla, and today we are drawing pumpkins. So to get started, I'm using an HB, 2B, and 6B pencils. And I'm taking my HB pencil and just very lightly shading in the basic shape of the pumpkin. And to get started, it's easiest if you just draw in a very rough bean shape. You keep the basic shape of the pumpkin, but if you make a bean like shape, this is going to be just the skeleton for drawing in the rest of the shape and getting in the rest of the elements. And right now I'm drawing in the pumpkin segments, and again I'm just very lightly shading this in. And when I draw these segments, I'm not drawing them in symmetrically like a cartoon or a graphic, like a well-designed like pumpkin that looks really perfect. I want this to look more natural and realistic and plant-like, and so I'm adding in all of the rough edges and the imperfect details in order to make it look more realistic. And right now I'm basically shading in the middle, like the part where the segments meet. I don't want to use like very harsh lines. I want to use very sketchy shaded lines, because what I'm doing is really creating shadows and light areas in order to give it depth. I'm not putting in really harsh lines to really separate those elements. That's another thing that'll make your drawing look more realistic and more plant-like, is if you think of these areas more like shadows and light areas as opposed to just lines. And also, studying an actual pumpkin will help you out too. I think when it comes to something that's so iconic like a pumpkin, especially in the fall, especially Halloween, you've seen this so many times, drawn out so many different ways, that it's very easy for your mind to kind of fill in the gaps of what you feel like this is supposed to look like. But if you actually look at a real pumpkin, and even if that means going to the supermarket and kind of lightly sketching the pumpkin in front of you, like you really could, I've done things like this before, that is going to really help you in terms of when you sit down to actually draw it out. Like it kind of basically it resets your brain. Like your brain kind of has all the answers in place for drawing it, but taking another look at it and really studying what those imperfections are. What are all the pieces and parts that make up the pumpkin? What does the stem look like? This basically kind of reboots your brain when it comes to looking at this again. And right now I'm taking the pencil and I am again just really creating the depth by adding shadows and adding more shading, and I'm really building this up, and I'm really taking my time when I do this whole drawing. I think it took about 20 minutes to do, and it was just because I was building up these layers of shading. And that's another thing too, like when you lightly build up the layers as you go, then you can make decisions about how you want it to turn out. It's a lot easier to make those decisions as opposed to just filling in really dark areas immediately, and then it's tough to go back from that. And you can kind of build up the layers and build up the shape. And as you can see, when I'm shading in here, I'm also not using perfectly curved lines or perfectly sharp elements. It's really more about emphasizing those imperfections, so that way it really brings out the natural look to it, and really taking a look at that stem and seeing that like it's not just like a perfectly round tube, it's actually a stem. It was part of a plant, and what is that? And it's not green, it's not alive, it's actually dried out. So I want to draw it so it looks a little bit dry as well, as opposed to like well nourished and like really healthy, like still on the vine. Like if we were drawing these pumpkins when they were still in the ground or in the garden, that would look a little bit different than what I'm drawing here. Like these, I picked these up from, like I said, the supermarket. And so I'm really trying to kind of follow what that look is as opposed to something that it's not, or something else. And for your drawings, you'll want to do this, but you'll also want to add in your own elements and like what you want for the piece to be. That's really gonna give you the control and the look you want of it, is if you follow the basic rules of like what it actually looks like, and then take those rules but build on them with your element elements. That's what's going to make it unique and your drawing. And right now I've picked up a second pumpkin. I'm drawing that in, and I'm adding all of the same elements of the first pumpkin. I'm basically starting out with that basic bean shape and lightly shading in the shadows and light areas. And I'm using my HB and 2B pencils to kind of get in the basic shapes and basic dimensions. And then I'll take that 6B pencil and add in the really dark shadows for even more dimension, and to give it that very round pumpkin look. And also, what I love about this video is it kind of like, you definitely don't have to watch my other videos in order to understand how to draw in this video, but it does take the elements of all of my other videos, like composition and shading, and puts it all together for what we have here. And that's why I love doing these basics videos, because they all build and complement each other. And right now I'm getting in those darker areas and those darker details. And you'll notice that the first pumpkin, it was orange, and so that one is shaded a little bit darker than this one, since this is the white pumpkin. And again, those are just little details that, even though this is a pencil drawing, it's not a color drawing, it gives more life and uniqueness and realism to your piece, whatever you're drawing. And now I'm just drawing in a bit of shadowing to create a base, and that's going to be about it. I really hope you like this video. If you do, hit that like button. Please subscribe for more videos. And thank you so much for watching. I'm Marla, and this is Sketch Dirt. Thank you so much. Bye.